Now, we people do have with us the knowledge regarding the LTI systems, that is linear time invariant system. Why those LTI systems are used all around with this signals and systems course, that is known to us, right? Again, let me repeat it. Let me take that fault of repetition. Every system there, whether it is linear system, whether it is non-linear system, it can be modeled in terms of LTI system, because those are predictable. Mathematical models for the LTI systems can be very well developed, and those models can be very well can be floated in terms of algorithms which will be implemented on the processors there, right? So that is how the LTI systems are important. Within one line, I have just revise that particular concept of why to use the LTI system. Now, here in this discussion, our aim here is to study about what are the different tools those are there that will help me out to analyze the LTI system. And the most important tool that will help me to analyze the LTI system is the impulse signal. This impulse signal comes from the family of that elementary signals that we have discussed earlier. So those elementary signals, you people might be recalling all those things, right? There was sync, there was sine, there was cos, there was unit step, there was triangular, there was rectangular, and from that family there comes a signal named as impulse signal that will help me out to analyze the LTI system. Now, in a vague language, if I want to define that impulse signal, it has the existence only for the zeroth instant. For a zeroth instance in the sense, only at the instance of its first occurrence, right? And that too also, at that instant of time, the amplitude is very large. I have given you the example of thunderbolts, lightnings during rainy seasons. What happens in that case is, there is a lightning, that pulse is there, that with the highest lightning, this one, capacity, but it exists there only for the smaller period, shorter period, that spark, right? So that is nothing but the impulse signal. If I want to represent that impulse signal rather mathematically or graphically, I can say that the value of the zeroth at the zeroth instance is infinite, and for the rest of the instances of time, the value of the delta t, that is impulse signal, delta t is 0. Okay, now I can say that delta t is equals to infinity at t is equals to 0 and it is equals to 0 elsewhere, right? So this is how we represent the impulse signal. Now, to make more generalization or to understand this delta t in a deeper manner there, let me give you one example of this pulse here. Let me say that I have a pulse whose height is a upon delta, the amplitude is a upon delta, and the duration, the width is delta, right? Now, I want to find out the area under this curve. What is the mathematical tool that will help us to find the area? The mathematical tool that will help us to find the area is obviously integration, right? So I need to integrate this particular p delta t with respect to delta t, that is going to give me area A under this curve, right? So again, I can very well write it as integration p delta t with respect to dt over a period from minus infinity to infinity is going to give me the area under this curve. Or otherwise, in a simple way, I can find out the area of this pulse as height into width. Height into width. Height is how much? A upon delta. A upon delta into this width. Width is what? Delta. The duration is delta, right? If these things are multiplied together, in turn, they are going to give me the area under this curve. In turn, they are going to give me the area under this curve. Here the curve is the pulse. Here the curve is the pulse, right? So this is the area of this curve. Now, see what happens if in due course, what I'll try to do is, I'll try to reduce this width. I'll try to reduce this width. So reduction in width is going to get what it is going to affect? It is going to affect the height. If I reduce the width, the height will increase. If suddenly the width becomes 0, how much will be the height? If the width becomes 0, height will be infinite. Anything upon 0 is infinity, right? So if this width is 0, obviously the height is infinite, and this pulse now results into the impulse pulse. This pulse now results into the impulse signal, right? Now, somehow, if I could make this area under the curve, if the value of this A remains 1, then in that case, that particular signal is known as unit impulse. That is known as unit impulse. Unit impulse is the signal wherein the area under that curve is 1. The area under that curve is 1, right? So this is how the impulse signal is defined. Unit impulse signal is defined. Minus infinity to infinity delta t dt is equals to what is 1 is known as unit impulse signal. Now, a very basic question can come in your mind. Okay, there are series of these signals. There are n number of different signals available. Why are you focusing only on impulse? Why are you focusing only on impulse? That is a quite obvious question. See, we people have in hand LTI systems. Their nature is predictable. Okay, if let me say that at this instant the LTI system, whatever we are handling, those are stable. Those are stable. Now I want to analyze their response. I need to apply some testing input. And that testing input is now the impulse. Suppose, very general, very vague example, don't take it technically. If a person is standing in front of me, I know that he is what kind of person he is. What I'll do is I'll slap him. That slap exists there only for a shorter period but with high magnitude, right? And in turn to that particular slap, how that person responds is nothing but the impulse response of that system. If suppose a wooden table is there in front of me, and what I'll do is I'll kick that table. What in turn is the response of that table is the response of the table to the kick, to the impulse, right? To the impulse. Normally we do carry out mic check. In that case, what we are applying? We are applying the short input. That is called as testing. Okay, so this impulse is used to test that particular LTI system. It is used to check out the response of the LTI system there. Now, again, one more thing can come into your mind. Okay, impulse exists there for a shorter period of time. We understood that applying the impulse we can see the response of the system. Okay, fine. But is it possible always to apply the impulse? There are many other inputs also. Those can be applied to the system. There is sinusoidal pulse. There is rectangular pulse. There is triangular pulse. There are many other real-time inputs that I am required to apply to the system. It is not always the impulse signal. Okay, in that case, how can this impulse signal help us? The answer to this particular thing is again our linearity and time invariance. Linearity, weighing, scaling. Either I can increase or I can decrease. That all falls under linearity, right? Time shifting. I can apply the input now. I can apply the input after the delay, right? So that is time invariance. My impulse signal is very beautiful when I apply both these properties to it. When I play with it using these two properties. So suppose, see, here is the signal. I am talking about unit impulse. It can be either scaled up or it can be either scaled down, right? So one is the basic thing which is very easy for scaling up and down. Suppose normally we want to represent the signal, the number 100. It is 1 into 100, right? If I take the base as 10, it is 10 into 10. So the base should be something which should be easy for upscaling and downscaling. Here, unit impulse 1 is very easy to either upscale or downscale. Now what I'll do is, suppose I have such kind of pulse to be applied. I don't have the impulse, I have a pulse. What I'll do is, I'll try to represent this pulse in terms of the impulses. Right? So what I'll do is, I'll try to represent this entire pulse in terms of the smaller impulses which are accumulated together. See, the impulse is having amplitude 1. The impulse signal is having amplitude 1. It can be scaled. For this particular value, it will be easy to scale it up. Right? 1 into 3 is going to give me 3. What I'll do is, further, I'll shift it. For the next instance, I'll record this response. When the impulse is applied with the scaled amplitude, right? Further, I'll shift it further to the next instance. Again, that scaling is required. I'll record the response. Further, I'll shift it with, here it is suppose t t minus m, here it is suppose t minus n, here it is suppose t minus k. So t minus k is the time shifting instances. So those time shifting instances with the scaled amplitude of that pulse I am carrying over. And finally this plus this plus this plus this is going to give me this entire shape. I have scaled and shifted and finally added together. So this is how this complex pulse also can be very well represented, in terms of the scaled and the shifted impulses. Scaled and shifted. Scaled is this delta t, right? Here it is delta t. It is shifted version delta t minus k. Scaled 3 into delta t, 4 into delta t, 5 into delta t, 1 into delta t. That is nothing but this scaling factor. So this particular delta, its shifted version and scaled version, linearity and time invariance, in turn will help me out to represent any kind of complex signal there. And if that complex signal is applied to any system there, obviously the system's response y of n is very what we can say predictable. So I feel by now the importance of impulse signal is known to you. In the next discussion we'll be talking about the convolution which will be carried out using this impulse response, right? So we'll call it for the session. Good day.